This is spruce. This is oak. This is apple. This is mahogany, apple, rosewood, and oak. I can't remember what this one is. One of the beautiful parts of being a woodworker is you have so many choices of wood to play with, to work with. Some of the woods are very exotic, some are simple. There is a wood called ebony. Have you ever heard of ebony? Ebony is a black, hard wood. It is used mostly for decoration. It used to be used in piano keys, the black keys. They are not black because they are painted. They were black because they were ebony, this hard wood. And ebony has a very, very amazing quality. Ebony humiliates the woodworker because if you do not treat it correctly, it breaks your tools. It is easy to ruin. It is so hard, it is easy to ruin because it can be scratched. It misdirects your saw. It splits if you hit it in the wrong place. It is a test of woodworkers' skill to use ebony. It is power tools that made it possible to use it well in piano keys and other things. But ebony is a heartbreaker. One of the other extremes is this wood, balsa wood. Balsa wood is so light you can chew it, and it tastes awful. But balsa wood has this amazing property. You can bend it, and because it is light, you can use it to make aeroplanes. Big planes, little planes. You can make it, use it to make quick projects. It is a fun wood for the hobbyist, for model railroaders, because it has a very fine grain, and it is easy to work with. You can cut it with scissors, with a knife, and it is fun. But it has the disadvantage. You know what the disadvantage of balsa wood is? When you're not paying attention and you put your hand on the table on top of the balsa wood project, you know what happens? You have a disaster. You get paper. Because it is so easily crushed, it collapses. It is fun, but it has only limited uses. Oak. Now this is a wood to respect. It makes fine furniture, but in the right hands, it also makes a fine boat. You know that the best boats had oak timbers inside them, because oak is strong, it is flexible. Look, you can bend it a little bit. But oak also is straight grained, it comes in big trees, it is a wonderful wood to work with. Pine is the woodworker's friend because it grows quickly, it is very easy to work with, it doesn't require very sharp or very, very smart people. Almost anybody can work with pine and get a nice project. And it is so common that you can use it, spruce or varieties, for house frames. But it has the disadvantage that is also a nice thing about it. You know the disadvantage is that it is also nice. You know the smell of pine? Ah, che profumo. But you know that smell is a sap in the pine that drives the woodworker crazy because it comes through the paint. It dulls the tools. So the pine is soft, it is easy to work with, but you have to know what you're doing. When I look at these woods, there are woods for almost every occasion. Mahogany is a fine furniture wood. Maple is used for bookshelf blocks. You know that because it is hard. But did you know that maple also has a beautiful sound? Maple has a beautiful sound. That is why they use it in violins. So we have, as woodworkers, this embarrassment, l'imbarazzo della scelta, an embarrassment of riches or choices. But this embarrassment of riches or choices means that we have to be very smart when we work with wood. Because if I were to build a house out of balsa, you would think it was a government project, no? Because at the first sign of pressure, it collapses and changes its ways. If I use oak to make a house, I would get a beautiful, strong house that lasts forever. And it would last forever because nobody would be able to afford it to move into where it happens. If I were to use pine for a piece of furniture, then I would be one of those cheap manufacturers that sells you cheap furniture. So we must select the right wood for the right use in order to get the durability, to make it work properly. To use a piece of pine in a violin would give you a Chinese violin. Very cheap, wouldn't sound very good. To use a piece of apple, apple is a beautiful wood. It has a nice color. But you know what the problem with apple is? Have you ever seen a tall apple tree? You cannot get enough of this wood to give you a boat or even a nice piece of furniture. Also, you cannot feel it, but apple is about twice as heavy as oak. Could you imagine your favorite dining room chair twice as heavy? No. So you must select the wood very carefully because each piece of wood has its own purpose, has its own qualities, has its own limits, has its own joys. For the skilled woodworker, it is as much an art to pick the right wood as it is to use it. Now, I don't know if you ever noticed, but no two people are the same. Did you ever see that? The people are different. But the really strange thing is that God likes all of them. Did you know that God used a cheetah for one of the patriarchs, one of the people that started the Hebrew people? Jacob. Jacob was a trickster. He was a jerk. He tricked his brother twice, in order to get ahead of him. But God didn't complain. God used him. God blessed him. Poor Joseph. You remember Joseph? Joseph was a nice guy. But Joseph got abused. He was abused by his brothers. Poor Joseph had a great head, but no luck. But God used him. Even when he was thrown out by his brothers, even when his boss in Egypt, he had a boss Potiphar, and Potiphar got mad at Joseph and threw him in jail. But God used him. There was a little man, Zacchaeus. You know what Zacchaeus was? Zacchaeus was a thief, a tax collector. God used him. Everybody else complained about, he's a thief, he's a tax collector, we don't like him. God used Zacchaeus. So God uses all kinds of people. And we try to do the same thing. But we have a problem here on earth. You see, when we look at people, we don't see a wonderful person that we should get to know. No, no. We see a slave that should be made to do what we want to do. We see a business opportunity. Oh, how much can I sell to him? We see an entertainment or a plaything. Oh, put on a show for me. Or we see somebody that we can manipulate to do as we wish. Or we see an audience. Oh, look at them. I'm going to entertain them. They are just there to make me feel better. Or we see somebody who is different. Oh, they're different, so we got to make them the same as us. We don't always look at people the way God looks at them. We look at them for what we can get out of them. Oh yeah, they're different people, but they're different because they're slaves or customers or actors or audiences or somebody we can teach or somebody we can abuse or somebody that we have to make like us. This worries me because it is not right. Imagine if the master woodworker looks at his son and sees the son busy breaking all of the branches on the tree. Maybe that happened. And imagine if the papa says, son, wood is a gift, not to be broken. You cannot break all the branches. That is bad. You will never be a woodworker. Where would we be? We cannot judge that way. But we do. But God gives us a way out. What is the way out? The way out is, for one thing, by putting us in that situation. Sometimes it is we who are the slaves. And so we must learn to fight for our rights. Sometimes we are the consumer that the people are trying to sell to. And so we must think, it is not a good deal to save $500 if I first must spend $5,000. The people that are out there are not out there to entertain us. We must think, he's not a plaything. That is somebody that I should learn from. And yes, they entertain me and they are fun to watch, but who is the person behind that? And we should not think, I am just here to amuse people. They are here for my pleasure. I will tell them stories and perhaps they will pay me money and wouldn't that be great? No. They're friends that perhaps can learn from me, and if I have something to teach, I will teach, or if I can entertain for a moment, but it is not that purpose just to be there for my audience. And the person that perhaps needs to learn something, have you ever gone onto the computer and there are people who just give information, just tell you all kinds of things, and you say, that's so much stuff, why are they doing that? We do not need to be bombarded by information. We have to choose for ourselves. And what about the different people? What if we are the different people? What if we are the ones that stand out and other people look at and laugh at or say, they are different and I have to change for them? No. If I am doing something to hurt the people, or to go against God, then yes, other people have a right to say, Giovanni, Giuseppe, you should move on, you should try something different. But if I am just a unique person, then I should be allowed to celebrate that. God made each and every one of us just right. He gives us special gifts. So maybe what we should do is, instead of looking at somebody and saying, there is a slave that I can use, maybe we should look at them and say, there is somebody who can help me, and I will pay them a good wage because they have a skill that I need or a skill that I do not need. They can help me. Perhaps instead of saying, oh, that is somebody who will buy my product, perhaps we can say, I have something useful for you, and I will offer it to you for the price that it cost me to make it. Not so I can profit from you, but so that you can have what you need, and so that I can have a living. Or perhaps the entertainer. Well, listen to them as a storyteller. Listen to them as somebody to respect. Or the audience. Maybe we don't always need an audience. Maybe we just need a friend. And instead of hiding behind a mask of acting, instead of just entertaining everybody, maybe we find one person to be a friend. Or that person who is different, who is not like us. Maybe they don't go to church for a reason. Maybe we can learn from them why they don't go to church, or why they believe what they believe, so we can understand them and maybe learn something about ourselves. But one way or another, God has made each of us in a way that pleases not us, but God. God made each of us just right. And it is part of our being just right to understand that you are just right. And I must accept that. I must accept you as a gift from God, just as I ask it that you accept me as a gift from God. Because that is the only way that we will have a better world. That is the only way that we can honor the God that made us, each and every one of us, just right. Amen.